Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Inner Edge podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable, high-performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore. Hi there, welcome to today's episode. Today's episode has been inspired by the start of my week. I was asked by a client, Tracy Moore, who was inspired about 9 months ago to create something new for teens and teens between 12 and 14 years old. And she had the intention and the idea of creating some sort of camps that would build resilience from the inside out for teens, build their confidence, build their self-esteem, without really mentioning mental health at all in any way, because the world has enough labeling. I think, I'm sure most adults would agree, we don't need any more. So it was more about fun and kind of old school camps. Anyway, she succeeded in getting it off the ground and very graciously had asked me, would I go in and speak to the teens on the very first day? Now, that's not the easiest thing to do. If you think about it, day one, most of these kids don't know each other and they're just very self-conscious at that age. And of course, yours truly is asked to go in and talk to them for a little bit. So I wasn't quite sure what I was going to say. I asked my kids for some ideas, and of course, that was probably a bad idea. I should have known better. My son Sam, who's 13, said, "Oh my God, Dad, just don't bore them, please don't bore them." Right, Sam, thanks very much. And don't do one of your inspirational speeches. Great, thanks for that, Sam. Yeah. Anyway, I did the talk and it seemed to go fine. Tracy was happy. That's Tracy Moore, and you can check out the Inside Camps. I'll put it in the show notes. It'll be on again in Ireland next year. Maybe in time, who knows? It'll go further afield. But even if you're international, as I know some of the people listening to this podcast amazingly are, who knows, maybe some of your kids will go to this in time. But what occurred to me as I was talking to them and having a bit of fun, I did share a little story with them that I'm going to share here with you today, because I think it's relevant to everybody at any age. And who knows, maybe if you like it, maybe you'll share it with somebody else to inspire them. Now, it's to do with an eagle and a chicken. So the way the story goes, the way I heard it, was originally by the Jesuit priest Anthony de Mello. Don't be put off by the fact he was a priest. He was a pretty cool guy, very with it. Anyway, the way I heard the story was there was a farmer who found an egg. Now, he didn't realise it was an eagle's egg, and he took the egg and put it in with the chickens on his farm. The chickens took the egg and they looked after it, and they, I suppose, did whatever the chickens do. And eventually the egg hatched and an eagle came out, but they treated it as a chicken because they didn't know any better either, because they're all chickens. And so the eagle grew up and did what chickens do. They ate the grain on the ground and they clucked and they walked around the farm. And that's what they did. And then a few years later, the eagle was out in the yard with the other chickens, and he looked up in the sky and he saw this amazing bird, an eagle, flying in the sky with this beautiful long wingspan. And as he was looking up at the bird, one of his friends came beside him and saw what he was looking at and said, "Oh, wow, yeah, that's an eagle. Their kingdom is the sky. They're the master of all the birds. They're amazing hunters. They can go super fast. But they're not like us. Our kingdom is down here on the ground. We're chickens. We eat grain. And that's what we do. We lay eggs." And that eagle looked up and said, "Wow, if only I could fly like that." And the way the story goes is that eagle lived and died thinking it was a chicken. Now, what the hell am I talking about today? But anyway, here's the thing. Most people I believe are eagles who think that they're chickens. And even if you're listening to this thinking, no, well, I figured out that I was an eagle a long time ago, and so I'm flying around the place doing what eagles do, good for you. That's great. But even eagles can get challenged. Maybe not to fly as high as they need to. And even if, like a lot of people I know, you could be thinking you're an eagle in one part of your life, but maybe not thinking about it in another part of your life. And I think that's why I call today's episode Flip Your Script, is because we all have an inner story inside ourselves that tells us who we think we are, what we think we can do, what we deserve, what we don't deserve. And all of that is written in some sort of script inside in our unconscious minds. You do have an unconscious script, an inner script that determines your results in everything. And I've seen that for myself. I've been lucky to be able to change my script in certain contexts, do the same thing with other people. But what I've always found amazing, and even I saw it with the teens there on Monday, was that already at that age, because they're so self-conscious, but still in the formative years, there's scripts starting to form. And a lot of that's from our past. I've seen it so many times. I've had one client before years ago who was running a business and was asked to help them a little bit. There were some financial problems in a downturning market. It was in the recession of 08, 09, 10. And when I said, let's talk about the numbers, she literally had a flip out and went, no. Eventually we got into it. She had a major phobia against numbers. But when we drilled into it, the reason was because some great teacher, when she was in secondary school, had said to her, you're useless at numbers. And that stuck, and she let it stick. Now, once you get to a certain age, it doesn't matter what anybody said to you or did to you years ago. Your responsibility is to see if a script is in there holding you back. We all have them. Shane too. And your job is to flip it, to flip that script. And it's totally possible. Very often, all it takes is for you to realise that there is a script there and to see it, or at least raise the possibility that, well, maybe I'm not a chicken. What if I am an eagle? I firmly believe most people are living well below their potential. That's what kind of gets me out of bed in the morning, is to explore my own potential, but also explore other people. But anyway, the way my brain works, I was thinking about eagles then over the last few days, and I was thinking, yeah, but what makes a good eagle, or what makes a great eagle? The great eagle, like what's the difference between a great eagle and a good eagle? Just stay with me. I think in the context of being a leader, where you see a great eagle, like a good eagle will be an eagle that can actually fly fast, will soar, will hunt, will be very proud of being a good eagle. May even set records, win awards, look great, fantastic, look at themselves in the mirror and go, you are an awesome eagle. But that doesn't mean they're a great eagle. I think there's one distinguishing factor. I just thought I'd throw it in, especially for people who are listening to this who are leaders or interested in being a better leader. The sign of a great eagle is having other great eagles around them, that they have actually cultivated. They've found chickens, for example, who really were eagles, and they woke them up and said, hey, you're an eagle. Come on, let's go fly. And then they help those eagles to become good eagles, and then maybe even great eagles. So much so that maybe even the great eagle moves into the background, and all around them are these amazing eagles. But they all started because of what that person did and what that eagle did. And I think that is, to me, a sign of a great human being, a great leader, is that the people around them start to thrive, they are transformed, and they may forget that, they mightn't even realise what was the catalyst, but that person was a catalyst. And to me, that's the mark of a great person, a great leader. And that's what I always look for in terms of great leadership. And it's not always easily found. And I think I will use this opportunity as a chance to plug something that's coming up that's right in this spot. So if any of this is resonating, you might want to check out a couple of things. One is, I have a good friend and colleague of mine from Germany called Dr. Michael Gerharz, and Michael and myself connected a few years ago. I suppose we have a common interest in different areas, and Michael is a specialist with communication for leaders, helping them to get more clarity in terms of how they communicate in public, in presentations and speaking, but also with their teams. And as we were chatting amongst our kind of common interests, we were just talking about the overlap of certain things, especially in this area of changing the internal script of people, of leaders. And even if you're good, you can still be great, because what you probably find is that there is some version of a script that might be slightly holding you back. And how do you change that anyway? So I'm going to put this link in the show notes. We've decided we're doing a 3-month program in the autumn of 2022, depending on when you're listening to this. The link will be in the show notes. But we are going to do a 1-hour free webinar where we're going to discuss some of the elements that we both see around how to identify a story that you want to change, how to change it, and what can happen. And I think anybody who listens to the webinar, it'll be free. It's going to be this Wednesday at 4 o'clock. I'll put the link in the show notes. It's done through Crowdcast, so you can tune in without anybody seeing you. I'm not too sure how this is going to work, but there might be a slight recording. So depending on when you listen to this particular podcast, do check out the link in the show notes on this podcast app, wherever you're listening to it. And you might get some access to the Crowdcast still, the recording of the webinar. There's a lot of information in it that'll be very relevant to anybody who's looking to have a better business, a better career, or a better life. So you can check that out. I think a story that's coming to mind, and I may not have this completely right, is about the famous, geez, I can't get my words right today for some reason. Anyway, too relaxing a weekend, Shane. But the Flying Wallendas, they were a famous family of trapeze artists, the Flying Wallendas. And the way I remember the story was that towards the end of his career, the father, these guys used to fly with no safety net. And the father had a terrible fall and actually died. And one of the family members, I think it was one of the sons, was talking in the days afterwards, saying that it's funny that his father had started to get this concern in his mind about losing his grip and falling, and had talked about it. And that's an example of a changing script. So just because you go from good, maybe even great as they were, you always have to watch your script, because it doesn't take much, especially right now with, as I'm speaking in the current time, there's a massive media focus on recession, on the war, on lots of different challenges coming. And depending on how much information you take in from the media, plus who you're listening to, plus how often you listen to it, we have to look at reality and adapt our sails to the wind. But we do have to be very careful. It doesn't take much sometimes, if you're not that conscious, of changing your script into a way that damages yourself. So I think here's a couple of questions for you for today. Is that, what is your inner script? Think about an area perhaps where maybe the results are slightly off, or maybe you're not feeling great about it. It could be personal, it could be a relationship. It's a really good area for looking at script. It could be your health, some sort of health challenges or pain. It could be business, it could be leadership, it could be somebody in your business. What is the inner script around that person, around that project, around that situation? And are you open to the fact that maybe you could flip it? Like, it is very, very powerful. The more people that realize this and then understand the mechanics of it, of how to change it. And again, it's not about being Pollyanna and ignoring reality. It's not even about positive thinking. And at the webinar, I'll explain why I just don't believe positive thinking works. It never has. You need to understand a very different dynamic of how we work from the inside out. So that's it for today. Check out the show notes on some of the stuff if it's interested you. And just remember, if nothing else, that you do have a script for every single thing. So check your script regularly and occasionally flip it. That's it for today. Ciao.